Hi, everyone. Welcome to our second installment of Friends in the Field. Today, I am with the wonderful, beautiful Rachel Pfotenhauer, who is a dear friend and who I do retreats with every year in Mexico and beyond. And so I'm very excited to have her here with all of us today to share her insights, wisdom, and experience in working with Earth, and also in her many years as both counselor and intuitive guide, spiritual guide to thousands of people she's worked with. So she's a treasure trove of information. So welcome, Rachel.
Thank you for having me, Jeilene.
Absolutely. I'd love to tell the group a little bit more about you. So I'm going to read Rachel's dialogue about herself so that you guys get a better introduction to what she's all about and her experience, and then she can give us some information from her own experience about her experience and how she came about doing the work she does. So Rachel holds an MA in counseling from Adams State College and is a licensed professional counselor. She's got over 5,000 hours of supervised direct work experience and nearly 2 decades of experience working as a counselor and offering spiritual guidance to individuals. She's trained in EMDR, DBT, and theta healing, and she's been a psychic all of her life. She's been experiencing psychic phenomena all her life, and she trained with psychic and mystic Beverly Anderson in Durango, Colorado. It's Colorado, right? Yeah. And in the last 20 years, she's worked with shamans and roadmen and medicine healers in Peru and the Southwest, which is really cool. For years, Rachel's been channeling the earth, loved ones, and angels to help provide guidance for her clients. And I know I started out as one of Rachel's clients, and I'm eternally grateful for all the information she helped me connect to. And when I first went to Rachel, I definitely sat down in her chair and I said, I'm so disconnected. How do I get connected? And what a journey it's been since we started working together. Can't even tell you. That's just to share a little tidbit in the middle of her profile. I want to say that I used to say that Rachel has this sort of like hangover effect but it's a good hangover, where you would go to see her and then suddenly you would start doing something energetically that you weren't capable of doing or weren't aware that you were capable of doing before you saw her. I'd go have a reading, and then that night I would start channeling, or I would do a past life reading for somebody that I hadn't been doing before. And so I always called it the Rachel hangover, the Rachel effect. Anyway,
thank you.
Pretty exciting if you haven't experienced her work before. So while working with certain clients in the summer of 2018, Creator told Rachel she would heal them. I think you were pretty surprised to hear that, right? Rachel replied she had no idea how to do such a thing, but she was directed, excuse me, to tell them to come back in the fall and she would heal them. So 2 weeks later, while in Hawaii with her family, Rachel received a protocol from Creator and Earth Spirit explaining how to heal, as well as a download of grace. And grace allows healing to occur no matter the person's karmic experience. The following week, Rachel and her son, who has juvenile diabetes, went to Kauai. And during that week, Rachel had a profound experience in which she experienced her soul self in totality. And from that point on, Rachel's been channeling Earth's energy and universal energy, including Creator and other energies, to heal others and the planet. So when Rachel returned to the mainland, she started working on people who were suffering from diseases like Epstein-Barr, Lyme, CTE, depression and anxiety, and many, many more. I know you've done lots of other great work. People started to report their symptoms being reduced or going away completely, which is very exciting. Everyone Rachel's worked on has had long-term illnesses, and they found little relief prior to working with you, I know, and then have really started to experience some pretty dramatic results with that amazing Earth Creator healing. So that's exciting stuff that you're up to, and I'd love for you to tell the group a little bit more of your history, how it got started, how this whole thing happened to you with Creator and with the Earth, and what that means, because I think this topic is really relevant because we're talking about connections this month. And there's so many different ways to connect. The Pleiadians brought in connections to our cosmic lineage, but it really has to be anchored in the earth connection. And so if you could just kind of weave that in, that would be great.
Okay, sure. And first, thanks for having me, Jeilene.
Of course. My pleasure.
So it's, it really goes back to when I was 9 years old and I was up at UCSC, which is the university here in Santa Cruz. And my brother was working at Whole Earth Restaurant there, and my mom took me up to visit, and I was just hanging out on this bench, kind of spacing out as kids do. And I remember looking at this redwood, the needles on the redwood tree, and smelling it. And then all of a sudden, the best way for me to describe it is I was like taken. I was just enveloped in light. And there was like beings around me, and I would probably say now they were angels, and they were speaking to me, and I felt this profound peace. And then I was back like in my body. And as a kid, you're in the present all the time. So I forgot about it until years later. And it planted the seed, and it like opened up something for me. And I always saw energy. I was always empathic, but I never had a language for it. And there was a sense of always being protected. Like there was an experience I had when I moved out young and lived in my friend's house, and it was the middle of the night. And I heard this voice. I was sleeping on my stomach, and I heard this voice outside my head that said, with urgency, Rachel, wake up and turn around. And I was awake, and I turned around, and there was a man standing above me.
Oh, how scary.
Like ready to, rape me or something. But I was so calm, and I noticed at that age, because I was 17, I think, like I noticed the energy in the room. And I had been training in karate for quite a while at that point. And so I was aware of energy, and I noticed it, and I noticed I wasn't scared. And there was something else in that room. And all I could feel towards this man was compassion. And I told him, you're not going to get in my bed. And he's like, yes, I am. And we bantered back and forth. And I think it totally threw him off because I wasn't scared.
Right. He picked the wrong girl to accost.
I wasn't scared because of this energy that came in, and it was just kind of electric, and I felt very supported. I knew he wasn't going to hurt me. I just absolutely knew that in my bones. He wasn't going to hurt me. And then eventually he left. Like I told him he had to go. And long story short, he left. And then the energy dissipated, that supportive energy. And then I got angry, and I got really mad. Flash forward, like throughout my life, I would have these experiences that would let me know something was there, but I never had the language for it. There was another time when I was in India, and I was a photojournalist at that point, and I was in a store shopping, like a boutique, and I wasn't even paying attention to the people around me. And all of a sudden I heard this command, and I looked around, and it was just 5 men and me, and they were shutting the doors and locking the windows and pulling down the shades.
Oh, gosh.
And I got really scared, right? And I was completely disassociating. And then the same energy came in. And I remember going, this is just like that time that guy came into my room. But I wasn't thinking much beyond that, because when you get so scared, you start disassociating. And it was this energy that came in like a hug. And again, I heard this voice say, tell the man, because there was this one guy that was basically the leader sitting down at the desk. They said, go to the man at the desk. I heard this voice, go to the man at the desk and tell him about your father. And my father had just had a massive heart attack like 3 weeks earlier. I just thought, okay. And I went and I did, and I told him about my father, and we had this conversation about how important my father is to me. And he looks at me and he says, oh, the father's so important. And he looks at these men and he said, let her go. And he opened the door, and I just ran out of there. So I would have these experiences where I would feel, hear, see something, but I never associated it with anything. Like I never knew really what it was. I wasn't into the metaphysical arts or anything like that. And then as I got older, I was in graduate school and I started opening up more and more to that a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend and I were at a gas station and we pulled out a card, a business card out of one of those racks. And there was this picture of this woman. And my friend said to me jokingly, Rachel, we should go see this woman for our graduation gift to ourselves. And it was a psychic. And I looked at the photograph and I couldn't get this woman's picture out of my mind. I said, there's something about this woman. I couldn't get her out of my mind for 6 months. So I called my friend up and I said, do you still have that card? And she said, yeah, and gave me the number. I made an appointment and I walk in there and the first thing that she says to me, this woman, is, we've been waiting for you for 6 months. And I was, what?
That's not creepy.
I looked around and I said, who's we?
Yeah.
She was the only one. And then she proceeded to blow my mind, right? She wasn't just a psychic, she was a healer. And at that time I was in graduate school for counseling. And I was thinking there's got to be a faster way to heal people. And I just had this thirst for more knowledge and for connection. And she taught me how, it was just like, that was the seed that was planted when I was 9, like got awakened at that point. And I couldn't get enough. And I trained with her and she taught me how to connect in. And I was working with the angels for years and years, and also as a therapist. And at one point, probably 4 years or so now, I had hurt my knee really bad. And I was in my room, in my bed, thinking, how can I accelerate the healing of my knee? Mm-hmm. And I called in my angels and I said, okay, how can we accelerate this healing? And I had this idea that if I could somehow bring the energy of when I was really healthy into the knee, some kind of alchemy. And they kept taking me to these images of when I was a child, and I was so connected to Earth. It was as though I was looking through the world through Earth's eyes and not my own. Mm-hmm. And I think as kids we're connected, but I've always been connected to Earth, but seeing that repeatedly put in front of me, it just really brought home this whole connection, this feeling of connection that I hadn't felt in a while. And in that same moment, I heard my body in a way I never had in my life. And it said, jump time. And I did. I didn't know how. I just knew how to do it. I didn't think about it. And I felt myself like leave my body, and I was going through time and space. And I could see planes of existence. They looked like coils folded next to each other for as far as the eye could see. Mm. And then I was like out of time and out of space and into the web of light, of interconnectedness, where you just are, you're just there. And during that time, I had knowledge, that this knowledge was given to me. And that was that in this web of connection, one, I felt something beyond that I would call God or Creator. And that was so crystal clear and such purity and love and design. And then knowing that we come to Earth to experience autonomy because we're connected all the time. So we want to experience separateness, but with the intention of still being connected, but we forgot that. We've forgotten that through being here, through the lifetimes of violence and fear and trauma, has disconnected us from both our souls and Earth. I also got that we come here to experience the emotional latitude, because when we're in this state of interconnectedness, like the emotional latitude here is huge, but there it's like that. And so we really want to experience emotion here. And to experience the density of Earth. And there was more stuff downloaded, but at some point I started coming back. I was like told, okay, go back. And I was coming back And as I was coming back into my body, I saw, for as far as the eye could see, souls lined up to come here with excitement and urgency, because it's such an honor and such an unusual place to be in the universe. And so I got zipped up into my skin. I felt like I was getting zipped up into my body. My skin was getting zipped up. And I had this profound appreciation for being here in this dense body and for being here on Earth. And then 3 days later, I was sitting in my backyard channeling, and I heard this new voice. And I said, "Who's this?" And she said, "I'm Earth and I have something to say." What she said was so deep to me that I took to a cabin on the coast, north coast of California, and channeled verbatim this book called Earth Speaks, which is entirely Earth's clarion call about connection. And so that was, about 4 years ago now. And then almost 2 years ago, that's what you read in the bio, like I was sitting in front of a client the day before I was going to Hawaii. And both clients had come in because they were sick, they were new. And I heard Creator came in and said, "You're going to tell these people you're going to heal them." And I said, "No way, I'm not going to do that." And they said, Creator said, "Tell her you're going to heal her." And I said, "How am I going to do that? I have no idea how to do that." and they said, "Well, you're going to," because it was Creator and it was Earth. And they said, "You're going to learn in Hawaii." So the next day, flew to Hawaii, and I learned this protocol to work on people, channeling Earth's energy. And I started working on my son when we got to Kauai, and within 5 sessions, his insulin rate dropped in half and stayed that way. And when I came back to the mainland, I started working on people, and 90% of the people got better within 2 months. And these are conditions that people don't get better from. They were very hard to heal conditions. Yeah. And they got significantly better, like where they had no symptoms or very few symptoms in a matter of, a month to 2 months. Yeah, it's just incredible, that journey. And it seems though that all along from the time that you were little, you didn't have some of the same blocks that some of us have to feeling connection, that you would have these moments of remembering. Yeah. And I think many of the people listening probably have those as well. And then there's the other group that I was in, the group of people that, even though I had a few experiences as a child, I still felt fairly disconnected. Like that belief of separation was really imbued in me for whatever reason. But I think that that's really common. And we all feel so much better when we're not in that state and when we're in that connected state. So I'm curious how working with Earth can help all of us feel on a more regular basis, more connected and part of that web that you talked about, that interconnected web of life, because that is really the truth of the situation, right? That we're part of that web of life constantly, whether or not our consciousness is aware of it. Totally. The connection to Earth is, I want to just really emphasize that it's easy and it's very accelerative once you step into her energy. And I want to explain, part of Earth's clarion call is that she wants us to see her as a conscious being, that she has thoughts and feelings just like we do. She wants her to know that we came here to connect and be a part of her. That was our intention of coming here. And that when we intentionally connect to her, we heal her just as much as she heals us. And that there's this energetic grid that runs throughout Earth, out into the universe. And that our global consciousness of fear and these low density emotions like, hatred and intolerance, they destabilize this grid, which is moving her out of balance and making her sick, which thus makes us sick. Now, when you connect into Earth with intention of like fusing with her energy, there's a number of things that happen. One is we start healing that grid, which then in turn heals us as a global, as a species, and all the other species. And she needs 7 million people to consciously connect to her. And that could be anywhere from when you wake up in the morning and put your feet on the floor, because that's all you have time for today, is to just say, hey, Earth, I know you're there, to actually sitting with her energy. And then when you sit with her, when you bring her energy up into your body, a number of things happen. So the best way for me to describe this is, let's say a client comes into me and they have Lyme disease or severe anxiety, okay? They get on my table and I channel earth energy. And if you go see a doctor, Western medicine does a great job of healing something acute in your body. You know, Eastern medicine will look at all the meridians and, you know, look at more of the whole body. What earth does is she looks at not just the physical body, but all the energetic bodies, the etheric, emotional, mental, and spiritual, as well as the soul. And she's looking to clear where the density is, all the stuck energy from the fear and trauma from this lifetime and all other lifetimes, and how that's damaged the full soul, the connection to the soul, and all that density in the energetic bodies and in the physical body. And when that starts clearing and the soul gets healed, then the physical body starts to move into the state that it should be in the first place, right? This full connection. So she, and that when you come about it from kind of the opposite way of what we're used to being healed, so we're starting from the soul to the body instead of the other way around, which is with the body, what happens is that the body responds and heals much, much faster. And it heals things that normally would be very challenging to heal. Now, it's the same thing with earth. So when we connect into earth, she's saying you have to think outside of the box if you want to heal me. And she says it's the same way, the way I heal you is the same way to heal to me. So when we connect into her, we heal not just her physical body, but we're healing her soul, you know, the heart within her, and we're healing her energetic bodies in the grid. So if we heal her energetic bodies in the grid first, then her physical body, the land that we live on, is going to move into balance at a much faster pace. And she's saying, look, the way you guys are doing about it now, she says, I appreciate the effort. It's important. You know, picking up the plastic, recycling, all that is immensely important. But you're going about it from a different, you know, from the opposite way. You need to look at the energy of it first, because I'll respond a lot faster. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Absolutely.
Yeah. So a lot of, so when you connect into Earth's energy, like bring the energy up from the crystalline, the river of light from her crystalline core, and that energy comes up into your body, and you just kind of see it, imagine it flowing out into the energetic bodies and clearing the density, which then in turn clears the physical body, and then you start healing. But there's symptoms to this, or side effects is better. Side effects are, so usually anxiety and fear and depression or suicidal ideation, OCD, that kind of thing tends to hang out in the emotional mental body, like hangs out in the energetic body. So that's usually the first thing you're going to start feeling is more peace. The anxiety will start to diminish, the depression will start to diminish, and it's at a different rate for everyone, you know. So people can, if they connect into Earth consistently, they can heal themselves. I mean, if they come and see someone like you or me, we're going to accelerate that healing. But they can heal on their own from Earth, and in that process they heal her. But the mental and emotional conditions tend to heal first, and then the physical conditions follow that because it's the denser body.
That makes a lot of sense.
Also, I'm sorry?
I was just going to say that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And then there's also symptoms, because when you connect into earth, you increase your frequency. And when you increase your frequency, there's side effects like you might get really tired. You might feel a little nauseous or dizzy or headachy, but only for like a few minutes at a time. It's not like all day. Otherwise, you have flu or something. But there's all these benefits into connecting. It's all about expansion and also connecting into your soul.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that at the start of every healing that I do, I always connect people into the earth first, because I also feel that, especially if you're a person that's connecting a lot cosmically and getting a lot of information from outside of yourself, that we can become very crown chakra dominant, or we have a tendency as human beings to pop out of our body. And that by anchoring into the earth every day, not only are we creating this amazing relationship with her, but since we came here to be human beings, that we really anchor ourselves into the energy of what feels so congruent and feels so natural to us.
Right. It's a really, I mean, I'm trying to find the right word for it, but when you start connecting, it's a different way of moving through life when you start connecting daily, because it first of all increases your peace, and so a side effect of increasing peace is more intuition. It quiets the mind, and you literally feel more grounded and held. It just gives you, I don't know, kind of, it moves you into your body more.
Definitely.
It becomes a very somatic experience, and
right.
you become more aware of the details around you. You could become more aware of a big thing that it really does is it moves you into the present. Like with time, you're not thinking about the past anymore. You're not thinking about the future. You're in the present, which gives you more peace. I mean, you're not perseverating on, oh God, what's going to happen, or, being caught in the melancholy of the past. Like you're more present, and if you're more present, you're noticing the details of the flowers and the plants and of the sunshine and how you feel physically and emotionally in your body. It's like it really hones in the experience of being here in that moment. And it's not challenging. It's easy to do. It won't take 25 years to get to this place. It's when you connect into her, it's a very accelerative process, because one of the things when I jumped time that I learned was there's all these planes of existence, and Earth is in the plane of existence, and it's a very dense plane of existence, and with these emotions. And whatever plane you're in, your soul has the intention of connecting to that plane of existence. And here we've been walking around not paying attention to connecting into this plane. When you connect into the plane of existence that you're on, and that's here we are on Earth, what that does is that energy propels you like a rocket ship into connecting into the soul and the web of life. And so you go into a deep relationship with Earth and a deep relationship with your soul, and experience the trinity of that oneness. And it envelops you and it heals you. I mean, life still throws you curveballs, right? You still kind of can go like this through life, but you're reacting much differently than you would before you connected.
That makes a lot of sense. So you have more observational capacity to witness what is happening to you, because you have this grounding and you're nurtured and held by Earth. So it's not as if you're just sort of untethered.
Exactly.
Flying out there solo.
Right. And it calms the mind, it reduces the fear hormones being emitted, and it keeps you more present. So when something happens, like maybe a year ago, let's say you've been connected to Earth for a year, and if something similar had happened to you a year earlier, you may have just freaked out. And then it happens again, and you notice, wow, I'm not really reacting. It's like you're not going around getting your chain yanked all the time.
Right.
Right? It really brings the center of control internally rather than externally, much more than you could ever think possible. And I mean, I could go on and on about the benefits of this connection. And
right.
people, I mean, not the listeners here, because I'm preaching to the choir, right?
Yeah.
But I tell people, like, hey, I'm seeing like 4 out of 5 or 9 out of 10 clients that come in with suicidal ideation. It goes away in 2 weeks. Like lifelong suicidal ideation, where they have tried medication, they have tried a lifetime of therapy. The ideation goes away in 2 weeks, and people don't believe it. They don't believe it. They think I'm making it up. And I'm like, I say, no, it actually works, because it takes away. Earth goes right into that place of hopelessness and clears that first. With any ideation, that's where she goes first. So you want to be here because it's so counterintuitive to our experience here. I'm here with the intention of being on Earth, so that's the first thing she goes to, because it's the opposite of what we're supposed to be experiencing here.
Right. Well, it feels also lately that I think a lot of people have noticed just how intense the energy has been, and how the energy has been moving from 1 minute to feeling very accelerative and forward motion moving, to feeling like you're stuck in cement, or feeling like it's almost like holding you down. And like, so there's this whole variation in the energy, or is it purging more density, or what's happening? So how do you see what's happening with the Earth and her process and evolution, and what's going on with the energy around the planet right now? Is it because of the way humanity is behaving that the energy is as such, or is it just the natural evolution and we're moving through this time? Or what do you see as sort of that?
That's a good question.
Source of that energy that's been so wacky lately.
I kind of see it as both. She told me, I was in Kauai back in October. She said that there's going to be a massive, I can't overemphasize the massiveness of this energetic shift that's taking place in the universe. She said that would start in November and go through March. And the purpose of it is to accelerate expansion in every single species in the universe, including us. And she says it's going to feel quite heavy, not necessarily like in a negative sense, but just moving through molasses type of, like you said, that feeling like you're in concrete. And it's this insanely big, it's so big it feels heavy. It's so much, it feels heavy. Energy that's moving through, think of the universe, every species in the universe purging. How much energy is out there, and how much transmutation is
it's just overwhelming, right?
It is. And so she said, she made a very clear statement to me of, Rachel, you have to let people know that now is the time that if they haven't already, and again, I know I'm preaching to the choir, that usually people, if they're in the metaphysical, if they're in this industry or attracted to it, that they do the work. They're into clearing, they're into healing themselves, they're into bringing up their frequency and vibration. But a lot of people aren't. And she said, now you have to start looking at yourself. You have to start processing these emotions and face them, because it's scary. Like doing the shadow work, or when people come in when I was a counselor, to come and face that abuse is the bravest work they're going to do. and you know, if they're full of denial, or if their ego's out of control, or you know, whatever that is, that density has to get cleared. And if you're not looking at it, it's going to be put in your face like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so this shift is huge happening. And then there's that whole astrology shift, right?
Right.
And this is, I felt 2 days ago, I felt like a little bit of lightness come in, you know, release. And she's saying that it's going to now, it's like, you know, hit this critical point, and now we're going through the other end of it.
Okay.
So it might feel a bit lighter and lighter and lighter, and it's the time to really, like, you know, it was scraping the pot, and now it's about releasing. So
yeah,
have emotions come up, stuff that might not make sense to them. It's always just name it, accept it, and release it. Name, accept, release. That's kind of like this mantra I have: name, accept, release. Because it's just density releasing, and that's how we expand. Now, the second thing is, so I think, you know, part of this is universal. It's the intention of the universe. A second piece is, like, you're hearing different spiritual teachers, leaders, or whatever. There's probably some mixed messages out there, like what Earth is doing, what she's accepting, what she's not accepting. And what I'm getting is, she's no longer holding and transmuting the global consciousness of fear, the global consciousness of hate and intolerance and violence, right? These super low frequency emotions.
Right.
You're just, you know, because our behavior actually affects you. We're holding all that. And she's not saying like we're having a bad day or we have anger. That's not what she's talking about. It's like, you know, the intense fear,
the deep-rooted dysfunction of
cultural,
cultural, governmental,
all the stuff that we've been carrying forever, and that we're not looking at. She's like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to transmutate that, because you guys have to start taking accountability and start changing and looking at yourself and growing. And so what's happening is that she's letting it just basically bounce off and come back in our face. Now, I want to say that if you are doing the work and you're connecting, you know, whether it's to whatever, the angels or, you know, the avians or Earth or whatever, but you're holding this intention of healing and releasing and expanding and connecting, she will take your stuff. She said, you know, I will take your anger, I will take your frustration, I will take your, you know, your sorrow, your grief, and I will transmutate this with you. You know?
So she's still doing that.
She's still doing that for those, but if you're just, you know, if you say to her, hey, Earth, I feel like I have this hate in me and I don't know where it's coming from, or my dad hurt me or my mom hurt me and I hate them, I don't want to carry this anymore, she'll say, give it to me, I'll change it, I'll transmutate it to peace or love. But that's quite different from going up to someone who's different from you and saying, you know, you're a bad person because of the color of your skin, or you can't have these rights, or, you know, taking away someone's free will by oppression. I mean, that's the worst, right? That she's not transmuting that energy. So that's what I get, and there's a freneticness to that, right? That we, you know, that affects us. So if we're not connecting into whatever, Earth, and I think we all need to connect into Earth, it doesn't mean I can't connect into my angels or anything else, but if we don't, we need to connect into something so we can have, you know, that sanity and that peace, that groundedness as frenetic energies around us.
Absolutely. One thing I've noticed too is that I feel like karma boomerangs really quickly now. And I think that's probably a side effect of her not processing some of this energy. You know, like we all have little mini judgments about each other, right? Whether it's a family member or it's a friend and they're doing something that you think like, "Ah, they just wouldn't do that." Or if you speak poorly about somebody, you don't, if you're not, because every time that we speak poorly about somebody else, it's really a reflection of how we feel, I think, about ourselves, or it's probably a fear that we have about ourselves. And so it's like that just like slaps you right back in the face, I think, when we do those things. And what I've noticed is that, not that I make a habit of doing that, but in any moment that that kind of stuff, I can always link it to something else that happens sort of almost immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
It's
No.
really interesting how quick things flip around now. And I think that's probably, if she's not holding it at all, it has nowhere to sink into and then maybe work its way out 5 years later. It's like boom, boom, pop, pop, right back up.
Right. And then add in the energy of the universe, the shifting that's going on.
Yes.
The energy of the astrology. And it's so in your face so fast. You know, she's breaking down. I feel like, I mean, this is coming from me. She didn't say this directly to me, but I mean, she kind of did in the book. But she's breaking down the facade, right? She's making us raw again, so we can reprioritize.
There's been a lot of that in the past couple of years, breaking down that facade.
Yeah, I think she's making us raw. Because when we're in that state, like, it's kind of like when you go to a place like the Grand Canyon or a beautiful mountain, or when someone you really love passes away, it's like these are these experiences that put things into priority. That we get really clear quickly in these experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And that's happening for every day, like for people every day now, I think. It's just being put up right in front of them. Like there's no detour anymore.
What do you see for energetically for the rest of the year for 2020? Because 2020 is such an invitation to continue to expand and open and have things come in that felt like maybe weren't possible before. And it just feels like there's so much possible now. So how do you feel about that? And where do you see things heading for us?
I think there's going to be some lightness in March coming through. And so I think it's like what I was already talking about, that it's a time to really get to the root of anything, inhibiting patterns or disease, anything that's holding you back, that's keeping you stuck, that's problematic. This is a great time to do that, because although it might be challenging, it's very fast. It's like a warp speed healing. So it's a really good opportunity for that. I also think that it's a really good time to vision, to get really clear about what matters to you most and to start decluttering your life. Because let me tell you, it's so much easier when you do that for yourself instead of letting the universe do it for you.
Oh, yeah.
So
I think we both had that experience of the universe kindly accelerating that process.
And you were just talking about karma. And this is the year that any really deep karmic density is going to get released. So you might have an experience that brings it up for you. This is the year to clear fear. And sometimes it's fear we didn't even know that was there, and sometimes it's the fear that we dread. And so this is the fear. This is the time where I feel like there's going to be incidents and experiences that bring that right up to you to, again, release. Because I think unless Earth is clearing your density, the other way to clear density is to go through the emotion of that, experience it, and embody it to release it.
Absolutely.
And so I see that. I see also a lot of like fruition coming for people that have been working on things, like if you've been working on your health or projects, or you have these dreams you've had, I feel this is a time that that's really going to start taking place for people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that merit that they deserve after so many years, I think will become reality for those people, or begin to become reality. And I feel like there's just a lot of expansiveness that is there, and it could be, I feel like there's a choice. I feel like there's going to be things where there isn't a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just like this experience that are going to happen where that karmic release happens, and then there's the choice of stepping into it, and you know, really stepping into that expansion with an intention and integrity.
Right.
And
right.
that, I think, is going to really, I think it'll really make a difference on how this year rolls out for each person.
Yeah.
I just feel like huge expansion towards the end of the year. That's what I get, like in fall.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like really big expansion and new beginnings for some people.
That's really interesting. That's exciting. One of the things that came up this month for our group was that the Pleiadians came in to talk about how they wanted to encourage us to make a lot of connections, also with our star families. And the reason they wanted to do that is because there's so many of them hanging around right now, facilitating all of the things that you're talking about. And I just really feel like there's all these beings that have been watching Earth and protecting Earth and helping her along, because she's such an important being, to other star systems, other planets that she holds, because like you said, it's such a unique experience here. And she always occurs to me that she's in this node of energy in the fabric of the universe, that whole mesh web that you were talking about, that holds such a place of prominence, that although everything is important in that mesh, that her energy just feels very important in the functioning of that net, in the evolution, because we're all in this sort of evolutionary path, right? And it seems that we have all of these beings, and the way that she's opened her portals up recently has really allowed us to feel them really easily. But also that relationship I feel like we have with them has to be anchored in that relationship we have with her.
Totally.
Or it could literally make you go crazy, or it could make you feel really out of sorts, or make you feel like you're expanding too fast, too far. But
no, I totally concur with you. I think that's absolutely right on. And I think one of the places that makes Earth so special, besides the density and the beauty here, is the challenge. You know, that emotional spectrum. I think it's one of the most expansive places in the universe. I mean, the challenges that we go through here, I think, are quite unique, is what I've been told repeatedly.
Yeah.
And it allows for very fast expansion for our souls. So this is like a incredibly gifted schoolroom class. Like every soul that's here has to be strong to be here. Even if they don't appear strong in person, they're strong to be here, because this is a dense place. This is all this ocean. It's a challenging place. Earth and the energies, because the aliens I was speaking with, they're all really kind of horrified at the violence that we perpetrate on each other and on ourselves.
Yes.
They're like just horrified by it. And there is a lot of help. So Earth calls them her helpers, so I call them Earth helpers. There's so many energies here right now to help you. You just need to ask. I mean, there's so many.
Oh, you've talked about, this actually reminds me that you've talked about some of these little beings. Like, they're not always star family, but sometimes they're just almost like elemental little earth
they're all sorts of things, but
Right. They almost look like birds to you, right?
yeah,
Or
they look like
little swirling energies. Or,
yeah, they come in from the star. Like I'll look up in the sky and they're huge as they float down through the sky, and then by the time they're in front of me, they look almost like a hummingbird of some sort.
mm-hmm.
And you can see their little eyes. They carry, I'll put my finger up and they'll land on it, and I feel like I'm putting my finger in the light socket without the pain. I mean, it's so much energy and a lot of joy, but there's I don't, there's millions of them.
Right.
And
There's so many beings
so
here
many,
right now
so many.
supporting her. It's not going to go wrong for her. The question is, does humanity get to stay and keep participating in her evolutionary journey?
Yeah.
Or have we screwed it up? And I sincerely hope that we have not crossed that line too far. I think that there's a lot of potential for a lot of people to evolve with her.
Yeah, she said she
and
still has hope. She says there's still time, but not a lot.
Yeah,
not a lot at all. But there's, you can change things really. I mean, a lot of stuff can change.
Yeah, and she supplies us with all of the things that we need, all the microbes, all the fungus that can, clean up the soils really quickly, clean up the plastics. The fungus eat the plastics, the microbes eat the plastics, and the fungus and the microbes clear the soils of glyphosate and of other toxic chemicals, and they do it really rapidly. But if they're not allowed to do what they are expert at doing, right? So if we could just get out of the way.
Right. And there's so many different ways to connect too, like there's the growing your own food, that's connecting.
Right. Just getting your hands in the soil.
Getting your hands in the soil and going on a backpack trip or go car camping or swim in the ocean. I mean, there's all those very literal ways of connecting too, and she says that helps her just appreciating the beauty. She feels that she knows each and every one of us. She knows a lot about us, and we're her children, and she wants us to survive, but she won't abide. She told me this. It's one of the first things she said to me that first day when I connected. She came up, and when she said, I have something to say to you, and it was basically like, I won't abide by the way you're treating me and how many other species are suffering because of you.
Right.
So it's kind of like the school of hard knocks is happening,
Yeah, the reality. I think it's a dose of reality is
and so
happening.
People are, but there's a lot of people waking up. Like, I'm 55. There's no way there could have been a conversation about this, 25 years ago or in the 80s. No one would be talking like we're talking now, openly like we're talking now.
That's very
true. Back
true.
then, it would be hush hush in a room, worried about what people thought. And I used to, I was a little worried about it too when I came out as a psychic, because a lot of people don't believe this. They think it's a bunch of woo-woo, a bunch of bullshit, but it's not. And especially in the Z generation, so these kids that have been being born for the last 20, 25 years are those souls that I saw coming in. And the ones coming in now, they're so strong, and they're open and they're coming in. And these generations now, for the most part, are very open to this. They're more environmentally aware than any other generation. And they're more tolerant than any other generation. They're more socially conscientious than any other generation. And so it's not like I think us older generations should put everything on them to burden them. But I do have hope that that there's enough people out there that will listen to get that 7 million people that she needs to connect. Like the younger generation is like, oh yeah, of course, why not? I tell this to someone my age, there's plenty of people that would roll their eyes at this conversation we're having right now.
Right.
But more and more people, no matter what their age, are starting to wake up to this. And especially when I say, I start talking about Earth and Earth being a consciousness, a lot of people get that. A lot of people understand that.
Yeah, because you can feel it.
Yeah.
And you can feel it. And that's the thing, is that we don't want to shut down the human superpower of feeling.
Right.
And the society we live in is often shutting that down, or trying to dial that down. Don't feel, just buy this, don't really experience nature. Just have a virtual experience with nature. You don't actually need to go out into the forest, just look at this picture on your TV of this beautiful mountain scene. So we're not encouraged on the whole to get out and experience the earth, I don't think. But I think that as we start to take the initiative to do that, to grow our own food, to connect with the soil, to connect with the microbes, to work with the trees and the plants and all those facets of earth that carry her energy in a really strong vibration, then I think we start to come back to that place where we remember, oh, right, I am meant to feel the message from this plant. I am meant to feel what it means to be
right.
a human connected to the earth. That's my normal state of being. Being disconnected from the earth is an abnormal, right, dysfunctional state for a human being. Normal is connected, is a close relationship, which I think indigenous populations all across the globe know that. You don't survive here well if you don't have that relationship with her.
Right. And we have to find our own way of doing it. They have their way of doing it. We have to
right.
say our own way of doing it.
In this time also,
right.
because it's a different time.
Right.
And it obviously we're not going to go live out in a tent or in a teepee, and we're not going to do it the same way. It just
no.
doesn't. You're right.
No. And that their way, has been developed from hundreds and thousands of years doing it. And we have to, cultivate our own way. And I thought you made a really good point of being connected is what we're used to.
Yeah.
If you look at our eternal life, we're way more familiar and used to experiencing peace. It's like fear is very atypical for us. That's not our normal experience. So when we connect into earth and we feel that peace and that love, it feels like we just got home from a long, hard journey. Our body really responds to it. Our body goes, oh yeah, this is how I'm meant to be. And the energies of our existence, of each personal existence goes, oh yeah, this is, it's like being plugged into the right socket or the wrong socket.
So I would love for you to give because everybody who's part of this group has heard from me how I connect, and I help them get connected. So what's your technique, or what would you advise people to do daily, how to connect? Like, is there a process or a protocol they should follow? Like, what's the easiest way for them, or the most effective way for them to connect, so they can take home some practical?
Yeah. So what we could do is, if I could lead you through like a 2-minute meditation.
Yeah, that would be great.
I mean, and it's super easy, and Earth is like all about simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't keep it basic, And so you could do this in 2 minutes a day. You could spend a half hour a day, whatever you want. But it's a quick meditation designed to get you into the crystalline core. I have it on my website for free. You can download it. It's on my store, which is www.vast-earth.com.
Okay.
And this meditation is on there to download for free.
Okay. Well, that's a great way to wrap up our conversation too. And so before we start that, because once everyone meditates, they're going to be like, la, la, la.
Yeah.
So how can people find you? Is it through Vast Earth, or what do you prefer? Is
So,
it the best way to reach you?
yeah, thanks for asking. So it's Vast Earth, VAST dash middle dash or hyphen
Okay.
earth.com. And my email is info@vastearth.com. I'm on
Okay.
Facebook as Vast Earth and also on Instagram. So they
Okay.
can get a hold of me through there, and you can download the meditation. Feel free to share the meditation if you want to get 7 million people to connect. And
Fantastic.
yeah, and if people want a session, healing session, they could get a hold of me, and I also do channel for psychic readings from Earth.
Okay. And you do in person as well as Zoom sessions, right?
Yeah. Zoom and in person.
Okay. And you're located in Santa Cruz, lovely Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
So if anyone is in the area.
Yeah. And a couple times a year, I do healings in really potently charged areas like Kauai or Colorado or Mexico, and where people will come and meet me to get healed. And so it's this really expedited healing. So someone might come to Kauai for 7 days and get 2 sessions a day, and they'll feel substantially better and stay substantially better. But I also do that kind of healing on the phone or in person here in Santa Cruz.
Right. Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
Sure.
And we have our Shinalani retreat coming up in March 7th. Yay. We actually do have one spot left for that, or one room, I should say, that would accommodate 2 people. So that's an opportunity as well for them to work with both of us. And then you'll be doing other retreats that, excuse me, that you'll have posted on Vast Earth, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Retreats, classes, I do group healings.
Right. Group healings. That's right. I wanted to mention that for anyone close to Santa Cruz.
Yeah. Usually twice a month. And I also do a series called Taking You to the Next Level. And I'm already halfway through it, but I'll probably offer it twice again this year. And it's 2 days a week for an hour. And it's all about developing the connection to Earth and your soul, and then going in and clearing out the spiritual, the emotional, mental, etheric bodies and the physical body, and really working on the organs in the body.
Okay.
And they're very powerful meditations and healings. So
okay, wonderful.
There's that as well.
All right, great. Well, please.
Ready
to start.
So those listeners want to close their eyes and take in 3 deep breaths. Breathing in through the nose, exhaling out the mouth. And you want to breathe into any confusion, concern, or worry, or pain, and exhale that out your mouth. So you're giving your body the opportunity to release that which it has been holding, that it no longer wants to hold, with your breath. And just notice the cadence of your breath, and if your mind wanders, that's okay, just bring it back to your breath. And notice the sounds and the temperature of the space you're in. And I want you to imagine roots carrying your energy like a tree coming out of your body. If you're laying down, it's out of the back of your head. You'll see roots coming out your neck, spine, hips, legs, and the heels of your feet, as well as your shoulders and your arms and hands. If you're sitting down, you'll see the roots coming out of your spine, your hips, your legs, and the bottom of your feet. And you're going to see these roots go through the floor and the surface of Earth, carrying your energy down towards the crystalline core. And we're down in the soil, your energy is moving through those roots, down through the rocks and stones and the water. And you're going to take another deep breath. And on the exhale, you're going to push that energy down farther through the bedrock into the crystalline core of Earth, where you will see a river of white light. And you're going to anchor those roots with your energy into that light. And you're going to see your energy fuse with Earth's energy to become one. And as that takes place, you say to yourself, I am connected to Earth. Earth is connected to me. I support Earth. Earth supports me. I heal Earth. Earth heals me. I love Earth. Earth loves me. We are one. We are one. We are one. And when you're ready, you're going to take that energy of oneness and bring it back up through your roots, up through the crystalline core, up through the bedrock and the soil, up through the surface of Earth, up into your body. And you're going to see that light, that energy of oneness move throughout your body and around your body. And you're going to command that every cell in your body accept this light to heal you. And you can stay in this light for as long as you want, knowing that you are fully connected to Earth for the rest of the day and the evening. And then take in 3 deep breaths, in through your nose, out through your mouth, allowing this peace to expand throughout your body and around you. And then you're going to slowly open your eyes and notice the things around you in the room or in the space you're in. And that's a fast version, but it's easy. You can say those words or you don't have to say those words. But you can do this in your car while you're driving. You could do this while you're taking a class, at work, in your bed, when you wake up, or when you go to sleep, when you're cooking. You can do it anywhere. You can do it inside a prison cell. You can do it anywhere. Outside, inside, everything is made of earth, plastic, concrete. It's all made of earth. So you're connecting to her anywhere, all the time. She's available.
Thank you so much. I really feel that. It's amazing. Just feels so peaceful.
Yeah, her energy is beautiful.
It's amazing. Thank you so much for coming and talking with us today. I'm so glad for my group to meet you. And if you have the opportunity to work with Rachel, you really ought to take that opportunity because it's an amazing experience. And I know it's changed my life in many ways, and it's really accelerated my development. So much gratitude to you for that and for all the work you're doing.
Appreciate it.
Anytime.
She appreciates you, and she appreciates everyone when they connect to her. She has a lot of unconditional love for everyone.
Thank you. That's a nice note to leave on this Valentine's Day, this beautiful day of love. Yeah, exactly. Happy Valentine's Day. All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.